The bladder as an organ has quite a simple function. It stores and eliminates fluid waste. But in traditional Chinese medicine, in the meridian system, the energetic function involves a lot more than that. And it is connected in with the sympathetic and the parasympathetic nervous system responses. So we have two sides of the nervous system. Our sympathetic nervous system is its adrenals, it's fight or flight, it's rearing up, getting ready to go, it's our energy. And on the flip side of that, we've got the balancing the parasympathetic nervous system, which is about resting and digesting and sex drive. And it's a lot more, okay, I'm not required, I'm not under attack, I can rest, I can let my body recover. And so, yes, the bladder it has quite a simple function, but that connection with the nervous system, with the sympathetic and the parasympathetic nervous system, is so important. And it is something that is very key to functional kinesiology. The reason that it is so related to this nervous system is because the bladder meridian and the bladder muscles run down the spine, and so this connection in from the nervous system, all of our senses go through the spine up into the brain to let us know what is happening in the world. So this is why the bladder meridian is so important. Now, the bladder is a triangle-shaped hollow organ. It's a yang organ. It's located in the lower abdomen, and it's held in place, attached to other organs in the pelvic bones. And the bladder walls relax and expand to store urine and contract, and flatten to empty urine through the urethra. So when we're looking at the bladder meridian as part of kinesiology, we have three sets of muscles that we look at. So I mentioned that it runs through the back. That is the sacrospinalis, which runs from the cervicals, from the neck down into the bottom of the thoracics at the lower back. We've also got the tibials and the peroneus. The tibials are in the feet, so bladder imbalances can often manifest in the feet. And also the peroneus, which is in the lower leg, so it's running next door to the calf muscles. So we see leg problems. Leg imbalances is a better way of describing it, when there is a bladder meridian imbalance. So other common imbalances that we see: frequent urination, persistent headaches or dehydration. Getting our clients to be hydrated, to take water seriously and to drink enough water each day is absolutely core. It's one of almost the pre-checks that we do in functional kinesiology. We have to have a hydrated person to be able to effectively muscle test them. So recommending water and getting people to drink water is at the top of the list in terms of priorities. We also get edema, which is the swelling either in the face or the ankles, particularly that connection in with the bladder meridian in the ankles. So that fluid retention. Back pain because of the sacrospinalis, and also the bladder meridian runs all the way down the spine. Waking up in the night to urinate, and UTIs, so urinary tract infections, can all be signs that there are a bladder meridian imbalance. So how do we balance the bladder meridian in functional kinesiology? Well, we use the B's, so biochemical, emotional, electrical, and structural. Biochemically, hydration. I'm going to keep banging on about that one. And we have a hydration muscle test that we do as part of kinesiology to ensure that the client is hydrated and hopefully that they're absorbing water effectively. If they are not, if they say, I'm drinking loads of water and yet hydration keeps testing, then we can look at things like omega-3 as a supplement. If you were training in the practitioner level, omega-3 can help the body absorb water effectively. Vitamin D and vitamin C are vitamins that we would look at testing for the bladder meridian. We also like to include adaptogens in a lot of our testing. So when we look at the emotional balancing within the bladder meridian, it sits in the water element, which is to do with fear and anxiety. So this is where an adaptogen which supports fear and anxiety can be really, really powerful for the bladder. And we're also looking at minerals: calcium, magnesium, potassium, sodium. So if you are a foundation functional kinesiologist, then you're going to be looking at that from a food perspective. And as you get into practitioner level, you're going to be looking at that from supplements. So like I said, it's part of the water element, which is to do with fear and anxiety. And we as functional kinesiologists do a big piece of work in our holding space module around inner child work and being able to create a safety net, a safety container for clients that they can create themselves, so that when that fear and anxiety, like all emotions, it's an absolutely natural response to life. And so if we find a way, rather than trying to get rid of fear and anxiety, which is a commonplace in many therapies, we look at being with it. How do we hold it rather than trying to get rid of it? Because the more that we try and push fear and anxiety away, the bigger it gets. So electrical balancing. We're looking at the time for the bladder meridian is 3 to 5 in the early evening or the afternoon. And this is often when we see clients get very tired and lethargic. This is where the Spanish, for example, absolutely have the right idea, because they rest. They have a siesta at this time. And so the bladder meridian is the water element is very insular. So if we can rest at that time rather than pushing ourselves, then we can find that our energy levels are so much better. The bladder meridian, you can see attached to this lesson that there's an image and a video for you to look at. It's a big old meridian. It can look quite confusing, but it is very simple. It starts here on the corner of the eye. It goes down the head, down the spinal column to the bum. Then it comes back up to the shoulders and runs down that spinal column again. So you get a double whammy with the bladder meridian. And then it runs down the back of the thigh and then comes to the little toe. The structural balancing that we will be looking at for the bladder meridian, you can see attached to this lesson that there is a picture of when the feet are imbalanced, if they're not drinking enough water, or if there's a bladder meridian imbalance, that we can pronate as the foot turns in or supinate as the foot turns out. So you can look at that from a postural perspective to see if there is a bladder meridian imbalance. And so when the feet are either pronated or supinated, then it runs all the way up the body. It can really affect the structure and the posture of someone. So we see tight backs, we see painful feet and ankles, and we see this misalignment in posture, often due to this foot weakness. So it's recommended that we can strengthen the abdominals, which you will cover in the small intestine meridian. And we're looking, because what happens is that sacrospinalis through the spine gets very locked if the abdominals, which are at the front, aren't doing their job properly. So if we can actually support another meridian to actually release that back, then we can really see the back pain can change. And we want to ensure that they're wearing the right footwear. So if you've got someone who's got this pronating, supinating, and they're wearing a lot of high heels through the day, making that recommendation that they change their footwear and make sure that their feet are really, really balanced, because you're going to be doing the fixes on the feet, and you want to ensure that stays in place. How does the bladder meridian fit into the triangle of hormonal health, which is the core at the core of functional kinesiology? So the bladder is often seen as a victim of the triangle. So the triangle is this the spleen, the triple warmer, the circulation sex. And so when this triangle is out of balance, then we can start to see an additional pressure on the urinary function. So there's higher toxin and hormonal detoxing requirements. So the bladder's having to do more, and the adrenals sit on top of the kidneys. So if the kidneys are stressed out, then the bladder is also going to have that knock-on effect. So it's very much seen as a victim. So that is the bladder meridian as part of kinesiology.